Welcome to That's My Biz, the Internet Business Showcase, where we bring exposure to products, services, and special causes of local businesses and organizations. Thank you so much for joining us. We are coming to you live from the BizLinks TV studio, brought to you by Visual Marketing Mentors, LLC. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of That's My Biz. As always, we're so excited to bring to you the wonderful businesses and nonprofits and associations that we find when we're out there networking. There's so many of them that you really need to know about, and we love, of course, helping expose businesses to the world, and that's what we want to do once again. And we have our wonderful guests with us, and the Momons. And their organization is The Blend. Now, The Blend is a very special organization that we really were excited to share with you. It's something that you don't hear about as much, but it is something that you need to hear about. The Blend is a ministry to blended/step families born out of their 20-year journey to navigate through the turbulent waters of blended family life. We know some of you all out there are experiencing this now, and really please make sure you tune in and just hear what they have to share and hear more about their organization. Their vision is to blend two existing families into a cohesive whole. So now let's just dive right on in. So first, now tell me, what made you all start The Blend?
Well, first of all, there wasn't a lot of resources at the time when we were first married. We had traditional counseling, but no one ever prepared us for what we would face in the future.
Okay.
So just out of our life experiences, we said we need to help some people navigate through some of the challenges that we've experienced.
Yeah. Wow. So now, so you all came together. So you came with how many of your own?
Well, I had 3 from a previous marriage. My wife had 2.
Wow.
At that time, and then we had 1 together, so we have 6 children.
Yes.
So it's already a challenge just in dealing with 2 or 3, you know, but then you're talking about blending that and then bringing into having 6. So we can only imagine for those that, you know, you're not what people would call blended, but in just dealing with 6 anyway. So then now you have the additional challenges of the blend. Now tell me what some of the challenges were that you all found out initially.
Well, some of the challenges that we dealt with were dealing with the relationships. Definitely challenge was the financial part. You know, coming out of divorce, this mountain of debt, and you know, when you get married, you think love is enough, but not navigating through. Okay, these financial issues are going to be a problem and put stress on the relationship. Those were just some of the things we had to deal with in the beginning that we didn't prepare for.
Okay, and then tell me what makes it different, because those, of course, are challenges a lot of people have just in, you know, family where it's the mother and the father, and they have, you know, 6 children between the 2 of them together. So then now that you're adding the blended aspect, children that are coming from different homes, of course, they have the other biological parent, and then now blending that together. Tell me about some of that experience.
Well, it's an emotional roller coaster.
Okay.
Children naturally want their biological parents to be together. That's the dream. However, you never really, the 2 people fall in love and you say everything is just going to be hunky-dory, but it isn't. Because you have to consider the children's emotions in this. And it's a roller coaster that we were not prepared for at all.
Right. It's like it to a death almost for the children, you know. But they can come to terms with, if the parents are strong together, and that's one thing we did, we made a decision that we were going to be unified, God, our marriage, then the children. And sometimes people don't do that, but that's what has held us together and walking in the grace of God in that area.
Absolutely, and that is so key for anyone, but even more so with this. Now, you mentioned John 6:12, gathering up the fragments that none would be lost. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, that's the scripture that the Lord gave us because fragmented, a blended family is fragmented. It's so many broken pieces. So many people in the family feel less than. I know I felt a lot of shame. I was a minister that had gotten divorced, and I felt condemnation and shame, and I felt like God couldn't use me. And so God is saying that there's no less than. Our family is not a traditional family, and it will never be. But we're not less than because we're blended. God still has put a blessing on our lives.
Right, that's fantastic. And before we even go further, kind of explain to everyone just kind of how you really define blended.
Blended is, we found out that there could probably be 67 different
configurations
of a blended family.
Okay.
But normally you would see a man and woman have had children out of previous relationships, and then they two come together. So blended is just a new term for step. It's just a more softer word for step family.
Yes.
We usually don't use step in our household because we're all one.
Absolutely. I've heard a lot more families have moved towards that and moved away from that term step, which is important. I think especially for the children, correct, that they don't feel like this is my stepbrother or my stepmother or father, to really just truly feel and embrace that this is my family. This is who they are.
Yes. You're wanting everyone to feel a part of your family as much as possible.
Fantastic. Now, okay, so marriage. So we often think marriage is just marriage.
Yes.
Okay. So now what makes traditional marriage different from the blended marriage?
Well, traditional marriage, there are natural growth stages.
Okay.
Yes.
Whereas in the blended family, you might have had a toddler, but all of a sudden you inherit a teenager.
Okay.
Yes.
And because you didn't have that natural progression, you have challenges because at least I knew that child as a toddler.
Right.
Now you're getting this kid that you didn't even know, and they're at the teenage stage, hormones and all
Right.
that.
Yes.
So it's an additional challenge that is not natural.
Well, I can imagine too when you're talking about blended and in different configurations, because I raised my nieces from their preteen and teen years, and so and often you always think, well, with my children, if I have them from birth, then it'd be a different scenario by the time they're teens. Not that you really know what's going to happen, right?
Yes.
Sometimes it doesn't matter whether they're with you the whole time or not. But but in that sense, I never thought about it. But we were a blended family.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You have grandparents raising their grandchildren, so it's a numerous amount. But we didn't find out just recently that they were 67. I couldn't believe that. That was unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And really, because you never really think that there's information or studies on being a blended family, but it affects so many, and I don't even know what the numbers look like these days, but we know with the high divorce rate that many more families are becoming blended families because you're not going to find as many people out there maybe without children, so you're definitely going to be coming to the table with that.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now what are some of the things so now you work with the families as a whole? Do you work with the parents or the children, or tell me a little bit more about what the blend actually does?
Well, some of the things that we do what we call a couple-to-couple lives group. Is when couples come together that are blended, and we just talk about the issues that we're facing, and we don't try to give them the answer. We try to guide them, to what has worked for us. Also, couple mentoring. We do seminars. Conferences. Also, we'll go in and just do trainings for leaders, because a lot of churches don't have blended family ministry.
Okay.
Unfortunately, there are a lot of churches that don't have strong marriage ministries. And, so that's one thing that we're advocating for, that the church would really take what's close to God's heart and just begin to minister that so they have strong, effective churches.
Right. Wow. So now, of course, in that, a lot of people might say that you and your wife are advocates for divorce. So, what do you say, or how do you address that?
We are definitely not advocates for divorce. In fact, we love for traditional families to come to our seminars because it's not always green on the other side. There's a lot that we usually like to call it the network, the Verizon network. You have all of this to do with. And whereas with a traditional family, again, that's that natural progression. With a blended family, you just kind of get slammed with everything at one time, and it's a lot. It's a lot. We have a segment in our conferences called baggage, and it's a lot. You come into this marriage with a lot of baggage, and you sometimes don't even want to even deal with it. You just, I'll unpack it later, but sometimes that never ever happens.
Right.
So it's necessary to open up that bag and start pulling out some things and dealing with it for yourself individually before we can even begin to deal collectively.
Right. Wow, that is fantastic.
Yes.
There. So now, so what are some other ways that you assist a blended family? So you talked about some workshops that you do, some other meetings and group meetings that you have. What are some other things that you all do with them?
We're going to just be hosting a blend prayer call for those of us that are part of the blend, because prayer is definitely a needed necessity. And just not in the blend but in everybody's life, that's what we believe. But in a blended family, you need God's help to help you navigate and to be successful.
Okay. Now, and oftentimes, because there's a lot of the shows that are out there, like The Nanny and other shows like that, and, they talk about all these problem children, but when I watch the show, I always see that what it is she has to work with the parents. It's usually always the parents, and it sounds like where you all have that focus. But also, so kind of what do you share with the parents in dealing with the children, because they may be at different ages, like you mentioned, in dealing with that, if the previous relationship was a longer relationship, and then now all of a sudden they're dealing with both potentially divorce and dealing with, a new parent. So tell me a little bit about working with the youth in the blended families.
Well, one thing that we talk about with the youth is that it takes time. One thing we did with our kids, I never told them that I was trying to replace their father, but I would be a father to them.
Right.
And it took time with some responded to me quicker, but they needed to see me be consistent.
Right.
Because they had people that have left their lives and not kept their word. Yes. So with me consistently loving their mom and still being there, I earned that right to be their father. Right. And it takes time. You can't put a time limit because what we've done on your marriage, but you have to be consistent. And definitely we believe that there's a grace for every compartment of life. And for raising our kids and being in a blended family, there's an unlimited supply of God's grace to help us get to where we need to get.
Exactly.
And obviously, I'd hear the faith-based side of it is certainly a strong part of it. And you mentioned being a minister as well. Talk a little bit more about how, the faith side of it comes in.
The faith side is very important to us. Without God, we definitely would not have made it, along with the practical tools that we had to put into our lives to go alongside the faith. And God has been the constant in our lives individually, and we've invited him into our situation, and that's the key. You have to invite God in. He wants to help, but you have to invite him in. Right. So I think that God has been so faithful to us in this 20-year journey.
Yeah.
Yes, you don't know how much you're loved until you know how much you're forgiven. Yes. And I've seen the grace of God literally in my wife's eyes towards me, and that is one thing that has kept me. I know that she loves me because of. In a blended family, that's one of the things you have to keep on your tool belt. I like to say, I used to watch Batman as a kid. He never didn't have what he needed on his utility belt.
Yes.
So forgiveness and love is one of the things you have to carry on your utility belt every day in a blended family because you're going to need it.
Yeah,
definitely.
I love
definitely.
that.
Definitely.
That's something. Now, and you mentioned the churches earlier, and their churches not necessarily, typically not having a blended family ministry, but even with their marriage ministry not being necessarily as strong. How have you been received by the pastors in the churches, and how are you working with them?
Well, that's been tough because a lot of times, if I'm struggling in the area, I don't want to open up that box.
Right.
So a lot of pastors, their marriages aren't strong. So I don't know how I'm gonna deal with it. I don't want to open up a box that I can't deal with. So, but what we're saying is, we'll come alongside you and help you.
Okay.
And we'll give you the tools. We'll do the heavy lifting for you, and we'll train your leaders and get you a program up and running that you can. Your couples can study and then raise up leaders within your own church to take over that ministry.
Okay.
So, but it's been a struggle because, as a pastor, rightfully so, they're guarded over the sheep that God has given them.
Right, exactly.
And we understand
exactly.
that.
So then you all are able to come in and potentially provide some programs for them to help kind of support them.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so ministries out there, especially, even the parishioners that are looking for something like this, we certainly urge you to, talk to your leadership, share with them this information. Tell everyone how they can get in touch with you so that they are able to reach out and get some more information they can take back to their organizations and churches.
Well, our phone number is 770-580-4402, and we can also be contacted on our Facebook page by going to theblendllc.com. So that'll give you a link to our Facebook page and keep you abreast of what's going on with us.
Okay, fantastic. So theblendllc.com. And then before we close, because I'm hearing, even as I hear more of this, I think I'll have to talk to my husband. I think we got another show in the works here, because he and I are talking about and we haven't figured out what to call it, this ministry or what it may be, but a conference definitely that we want to do for couples, and we certainly want to invite you all to be a part of that, because this is a special segment that I think often gets, not so much ignored, but just not even thought about necessarily. Exactly. So we definitely want to invite you all on that, and we'll talk about them with the show, because I think many of you all may be interested, and please let us know that. You'll be able to watch the on-demand episode of this show on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/BizLinksTV. Please subscribe to our channel, but also as you watch the show, put your comments in there. If you have any questions, or if you have a desire to hear more about this and more about this topic, please put those comments out there. We'll be sure to get the word out as well to the Momons, and be sure to visit their website at theblendllc.com. And is there any final note that you would like to share, or just strong tidbit that you'd like to share with blended families?
I just always like to tell the couples that God is faithful. The Bible said it is a faith that it might be by grace. And grace is a compartment that God has given us to receive from Him. And if it's not of grace, it didn't come from God. Grace is undeserved, unearned, unmerited favor. And we need that. I remember sitting in the back of the church thinking I couldn't be used again. But God had a plan for my life. And He has a plan for your family. You're not less than. The blessing of God is on your life. And He's willing to do and able to bring your family to success.
That's fantastic. Thank you all so much for sharing. We have Andrew and Kristina Momon. Thank you all so much for joining us. They are with The Blend. Again, you can visit their website at theblendllc.com. Be sure to reach out to them, as well as you can watch the on-demand episode of this show at bizlinks.tv. Also, our YouTube channel, which is also youtube.com/bizlinkstv. Make sure, again, that you subscribe to our channel, and make sure that you like us on Facebook. Same address, facebook.com/bizlinkstv. We like to keep it consistent. Once again, we thank the Momons for joining us today with The Blend. Everyone, remember, we want to expose your business to the world. Thank you for joining us. Today's show can be viewed on demand on our website at www.bizlinks.tv. If you are interested in having your products, services, or special cause showcased on our program, submit an inquiry to that'smybiz@bizlinks.tv. In addition, information on advertising and hosting your own show can be found on our website at bizlinks.tv.